It's 1968, and Elvis Presley is a ghost. He's not dead, of course. He's rich. He's famous. He lives in a mansion. But the Elvis that changed the world, the one that scared parents and made teenagers scream, is gone. He's a memory. In his place is a movie star. A B-movie star. He makes 3 pictures a year. They're all the same. He sings a few dumb songs to a pretty girl on a beach or at a racetrack. He gets in a soft fist fight. He wins the girl, the movie makes money, then he does it all over again. He's been doing this for almost a decade, and he hates it. He is bored, he is creatively empty. The fire is gone. He's 33 years old, and he feels like his life is already over. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones own the radio. Bob Dylan is writing poetry. But Jimi Hendrix is setting his guitar on fire. The world has moved on, and Elvis is stuck in Hollywood singing about clam bakes and puppet shows. He's become a joke to serious music fans. A punchline. Then comes a chance. A lifeline. A television special. It's supposed to be a Christmas show. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, has it all planned out. Elvis will come out, sing a few Christmas carols, say hello to the audience, and go home with a big paycheck. It's safe, it's easy, it's boring, it's exactly what Elvis doesn't want. To understand why they tried to stop this one song, you have to understand the man who ran Elvis's life. Colonel Tom Parker, he wasn't a real colonel, he was a former carnival barker from Holland, an illegal immigrant who built an empire on one client. The colonel was a master promoter, a brilliant businessman. He was not a music lover. He didn't care about art, he cared about money. He saw Elvis as a product, like a brand of soap. His job was to sell that product to the most people possible for the most money possible. The colonel's formula was simple. Keep the product clean, keep it inoffensive. Don't take risks. Don't do anything that might upset anyone. That's why he pulled Elvis out of the rock and roll world and put him in Hollywood. Movies were a controlled environment. The songs were part of the movie package. Everything was predictable. Everything was profitable. The colonel's worst nightmare was controversy. Controversy was bad for business. So, when the TV network hired a young, hotshot director named Steve Binder for the special, the colonel was wary. Binder was not part of the old Hollywood system. He was a guy who directed a TV show called Hullabaloo, a show with go-go dancers and rock bands. He was young, he had ideas, and his first idea was that a Christmas special was a terrible idea. Binder met with Elvis. He didn't see the movie star. He saw a guy who was hungry. A guy who was desperate to be taken seriously again. Binder told him, "Your career is in the toilet. This is your shot to show them who you really are." Elvis listened. He knew Binder was right. Together, they decided to ditch the Christmas special idea. They would do a show that was raw, real. A show that reminded people why Elvis Presley mattered in the first place. The colonel was furious. This was not the deal. He wanted Elvis in a tuxedo, smiling and singing Silent Night. Binder wanted him in black leather, sweating and snarling like he did in the 50s. The two men battled for control over the special and over Elvis himself. For the first time in a long time, Elvis started pushing back against his manager. He sided with Binder. He wanted to do something real. The rehearsals began. Elvis was nervous at first. He hadn't performed in front of a live audience in 7 years. But slowly, the old magic came back. He jammed with his old bandmates. He told stories. He laughed. He sang the blues and the gospel and the rock and roll that he loved. He was reconnecting with the music that made him. Binder filmed all of it. He was capturing lightning in a bottle. But then, the world outside the studio intruded. The year 1968 was not a gentle time in America. The Vietnam War was tearing the country apart. There were riots in the streets. And in April, a few weeks before the special was supposed to be taped, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. The country went into shock. There was grief and anger and confusion. The dream of a peaceful, integrated America seemed to be dying. Everyone felt it, including Elvis. He and Binder were talking one day about the assassination. Elvis was quiet, thoughtful. He was a Southern boy. He grew up poor in Tupelo, Mississippi. He'd seen poverty and injustice up close. He told Binder, "I wish I could say something, but I can't. I'm just an entertainer." Binder looked at him. "No, you're not." He said, "You have a voice, you have a platform, you can say something." This was a radical idea for Elvis. The colonel's #1 rule was Elvis does not talk about politics or religion, ever. It's bad for business, you alienate half your audience, you stay in the middle. You sing about love and heartbreak, you keep it simple. But Binder saw an opportunity. He wanted a big, powerful closing number for the show. Something that summed up the whole experience. Something that spoke to the moment. He went to the show's musical director, a man named W. Earl Brown. Binder told him what Elvis had said. He asked Brown to write a song that captured that feeling. A song about the hope for a better world, even in the middle of chaos and despair. A song that Elvis could believe in. Brown went home that weekend and wrote the song. He tried to put himself in Elvis's shoes. He thought about the recent assassinations of both Martin Luther King and, just weeks later, Robert F. Kennedy. He thought about the chaos, but he also thought about the words of Dr. King. He thought about hope. He wrote about a world where men could walk hand in hand, a world free from doubt and fear. He wrote a song that was a prayer, a plea. When he brought it in and played it for Elvis, the room went silent. Elvis listened. He felt it. This was what he had been trying to say. This was the song he wanted to sing. The recording session was intense. Elvis took it incredibly seriously. He wanted every note to be perfect, not just musically, but emotionally. He did take after take, pouring more of himself into the song each time. The producer Bones Howe later said he'd never seen an artist work so hard on a song. For the final takes, Elvis told them to turn off all the lights in the studio except for a small one on his lyric sheet. He got down on his knees on the concrete floor, and he sang. It wasn't just singing. It was a raw, emotional performance. His voice cracked with passion. He was wailing. He was testifying. When he finished the final take, he collapsed. The musicians in the room were stunned. Some were crying. They knew they had just witnessed something special, something important. They hadn't just recorded a song, they had recorded a piece of a man's soul. Binder knew immediately this had to be the finale of the television special. This was the statement. This was the big finish. He planned to have Elvis on stage alone in a simple white suit, standing in front of his name in giant red letters, singing this powerful song directly to the camera. It would be unforgettable. Then Colonel Parker heard the song, and he lost his mind. He hated it. He hated everything about it. He stormed into the production office. "What is this?" he yelled. "This is not an Elvis Presley song." To the Colonel, an Elvis song was Hound Dog. It was jailhouse rock. It was Can't Help Falling in Love. It was fun. It was romantic. It was for dancing or for dreaming about your sweetheart. It wasn't this. This song was a message song. Message songs were what folk singers did. Protesters, hippies. They were not from mainstream entertainers who had to sell records to people in every state with every political belief. It sounds like the president is giving a speech. The Colonel complained. He was right, in a way. The song had a weight to it, a seriousness, and that's exactly what the Colonel feared. It was political. It wasn't explicitly about one party or another, but it was about the state of the world. It was about peace and brotherhood. In the charged atmosphere of 1968, that was a political statement. The Colonel's business model was built on avoiding risk, and this song was pure risk. It could alienate conservative fans who didn't want their pop stars preaching to them. It could be seen as too preachy, too sentimental. It was not a guaranteed hit. It was not part of the formula that had made them both millions of dollars. But it was more than just business, it was about control. For a decade, the Colonel had controlled every single thing Elvis recorded. He approved every song, he ran the publishing companies, he made the deals. Now, this young director and Elvis himself had gone behind his back and created this thing, this powerful, emotional song that he had no part in. They were challenging his authority. If he let them get away with this, what would be next? He put his foot down. He forbade them from using the song in the show. He told them to scrap it. He had a plan for the finale, a nice, safe Christmas song. He wanted Elvis to sing "I'll Be Home for Christmas." It was a classic. It was family-friendly. It was exactly what the sponsor, the Singer Sewing Machine Company, was expecting from a Christmas season special. A huge fight erupted. Binder refused to back down. He told the Colonel that the new song was the most important moment in the entire show. Elvis, who for years had let the Colonel make all the decisions, was now caught in the middle. But something had changed in him during the making of this special. He had found his voice again, literally and figuratively. He believed in this song. It meant something to him. The standoff came to a head. The Colonel gave an ultimatum. Either the new song goes, or there's no show. He threatened to pull the plug on the entire production. It was a power play. He was forcing Elvis to choose. Choose me, your manager who made you a star, or choose them, these new people with their new ideas. For maybe the first time in his career, Elvis stood up to the Colonel. He looked his manager in the eye and told him, "I'm doing the song." The Colonel was stunned. He had lost. He backed down, but he was bitter. He was sure they were making a huge mistake, a career-ending mistake. He was convinced the song would flop and that the special would be a disaster. So, why did they try to stop it? They tried to stop it because it wasn't commercial. It broke the mold of what an Elvis song was supposed to be. It was a ballad, but it wasn't a love song. It had no catchy hook for teenagers to sing along to. It was somber and heavy. In the Colonel's mind, it was unsellable. They tried to stop it because it was risky. In a country that was deeply divided, the song took a stand. It pleaded for unity and understanding. That sounds nice now, but in 1968 it was a loaded message. The Colonel's philosophy was to play to the middle, to offend no one. This song was a gamble. It was choosing the side of hope. They tried to stop it because it was a direct challenge to the established order. It was a creative decision made by an artist and his director, not a business decision made by a manager. It was a moment of artistic rebellion. The Colonel's empire was built on total control. This song represented him losing that control. And they tried to stop it because they just didn't get it. The Colonel couldn't see the power in it. He couldn't feel the emotion. He only saw the risk. He saw a product that didn't fit the brand he had spent a decade building. He saw a departure from the formula, and the formula worked. Why mess with it? The special aired in December 1968. The final number was Elvis in that white suit standing alone. The performance was electric. He sang his heart out. He poured all the pain, frustration, and hope of the last decade into those 3 minutes. The camera pushed in on his face, and you could see the sweat and the tears in his eyes. He wasn't acting, it was real. The reaction was overwhelming. The show was a massive success. It was a critical and commercial smash. It single-handedly resurrected his career. People who had written him off saw him in a new light. He wasn't a joke anymore. He was the king again. And the final song, the one they tried to stop, became one of the most beloved and important songs of his entire career. It was released as a single and became a huge hit. It defined his comeback. It proved he was more than just a nostalgia act. He was an artist who could speak to the times. It was a moment of triumph, not just for his career, but for his spirit. He had fought for something he believed in, and he had won. The song that Colonel Parker thought was career suicide ended up saving his career. The song he thought was just a preaching message song became an anthem of hope for millions. The song his record label and manager tried to kill, the song that proved Elvis Presley still had a soul. That song was If I Can Dream.